Okay, this segment is going to be about intersections. Again, the standard accident prevention program. Recognize the hazard. Understand the defense. Act in time. Intersections are always a hazard because the potential for a collision is there, right? Know the rules. Understand the defense. What you should be doing. And of course, act on it. Be safe traveling through the intersections. Most collisions will happen when drivers fail to be 100% prepared to yield. You may be following the rules, but the other driver might not be. But you must avoid that collision. We have to understand the rules and regulations from driving through the intersection. We have to understand the defense. We need to know those rules. Right? No, we got to understand. We got to obey those rules. So always be 100% prepared to yield. Don't be dead right. That's where our eye lead time comes in, right? Scanning, looking ahead, checking the intersection, assess the situation for any problems, etc. Look left, right, and ahead. And then look left again. Unless we're talking about one-way streets, the first encounter is going to be the vehicle on your left. So act on it. 40% of all collisions will happen at an intersection. So most collisions, like I said, result from drivers who fail to be 100% prepared to yield and from drivers who fail to follow right-of-way regulations. Negotiating the intersections is the most complicated task that drivers face. 40% of them will happen there. Know the rules, as I said, for traveling through the intersections. Act. Once you recognize the hazard, you know what to do. Well, take act. Never take a wait and see attitude. So, act on it. No. Understand. And obey the laws at the right-of-way of the intersection. Sometimes we'll encounter traffic intersections that are massive, busy, and we're new to the area, etc. Well, it doesn't hurt. In fact, it'll do a lot of good if you were to pull out of your car, park nearby, and watch the intersection, learn how it's flowing, and learn how it works, etc. It might be an intersection you got moved to a different location, a new job, and you got to travel through this intersection. You want to be sure of how it works, right? Be 100% prepared to yield at all times. If other drivers attempt to go, let them. You don't want to be dead right. The law may say you were correct, but that's not the answer. Eye lead time. Scan intersections as you approach. Like I said, left, right, ahead. And lastly, look left to make sure everything's good. Doesn't matter if you got a green light. We always got to look to make sure. Then we have stop signs. So stop sign tells us we have to stop. You must come to a full stop and yield the right of way to anyone in or closely approaching the intersection. Failing to yield is a chargeable offense. So if you're doing a rolling stop, it's a chargeable offense. We must come to a complete stop. If there's a stop line, we stop prior to the stop line. If there's a crosswalk, we stop prior to the crosswalk. But the stop line is our first guide. So if there's a crosswalk and a stop line, it's the stop line that tells us where we stop. If there's a crosswalk, then we stop prior to the crosswalk. If there's no crosswalk visible or there's no stop line, we stop prior to the imaginary crosswalk. So every corner has a crosswalk, whether it's visible or it's not there at all, right? So it could be in the wintertime covered with snow. But we got to think there's always one there. And we stop prior to that would be. And that would be the extension of the sidewalk where it would come across. So that's where we stop. And we make sure there's no pedestrians approaching, etc. And if we need to improve our view, we roll ahead to get a better view. But that's our initial stop. And if things are good, we keep going. We don't need to stop the second time. But otherwise, we're stopping there. That's it. We'll see stop signs that are on a pole and they might be 15 feet away from the corner. It's telling us we have to stop at that intersection, but it's not really giving us the placement of where we stop. Okay. So, we got that right, hopefully. Sometimes at a stop sign, maybe some intersections in some suburban community areas, urban, there may be places where there's no traffic control, etc. That's very, very rare. But the vehicle on the right always yields to the vehicle on the left. Okay? So if we come into a four-way stop, or a three-way, or an all-way stop, or whatever the situation is, the vehicle that stops first goes first. If in the event of a tie, the vehicle on your left goes first. So the vehicle on the left yields to the vehicle on the right. So we make sure, I think I said that wrong there a few seconds ago, but the vehicle on the left, yeah, yields to the vehicle on the right. So that's the way it works in the event of a tie. On four-way stops or all-way stops. At a police-regulated intersection, that's the police officer out there directing traffic. He overrules the stop sign and the traffic lights. He or she. And they're the only ones that can direct you through a traffic light or through a stop sign. Right? Their direction overrides that. They're taking responsibility for your safety and the safety of the others by directing traffic through that intersection. A flag person has a stop sign which has stop and it has slow on the back side of it, right? Or yield. That's what their job is for construction areas. But as far as through a stop sign or through a traffic light, it's only a policeman that can do that for you. Then we can talk about yielding and merging, etc. Yielding. We yield to vehicles that are already in an intersection or approaching the intersection over there. We yield, the yield sign as you see in the center of this, the triangle. We yield sometimes coming onto the highway, etc. There's a yield sign. We have to yield to that traffic. Sometimes there's merge signs which tell us we got an extended lane, etc. But when we see a yield sign like that's in the center there and that red and blue car coming, that red car has a short merge, so they have to make sure everything's good, etc. before they change lanes. And in that situation, if you're the blue car, if you're able to switch over a lane, exactly is what you want to do. Great defensive move, great safety move, etc. that we want to do. So, but yield tells us that we may have to stop, but it's not telling us to stop. It's telling us to be prepared to stop or adjust our speed, etc. for sure, but it's not telling us to exactly stop. And so with the merging, yeah, get in the lane that allows you to merge, etc. If you're merging, make sure it's safe for you, and if you're the vehicle that's already on that roadway, if you can switch over a lane, great idea, right? Traffic lights, they tell us we could stop and go, etc. And traffic signs, etc. For example, on the right-hand side, that light is showing red, and the sign there is telling us what? No right turn on red light. The sign is telling us. So we're not allowed. Generally, we're allowed to make a right turn on a red light long as we stop first. Not a rolling stop, a complete stop. And if everything's good, we can make a right. But if we see a sign such as that, it's telling us, no, we can't turn right. Roundabouts. Roundabouts follow a yield at entry rule, which requires approaching vehicles to wait for a gap in the circulating traffic before entering the roundabout. So again, it's a yield sign. It's telling us you may have to stop, but you definitely have to yield to vehicles that are approaching on your left, right? So it's timing. A lot of it's timing in the roundabout to make sure everything is good. Good. You're planning. You're looking ahead, and you got great visibility. Usually approaching those roundabouts of vehicles coming to your left. You yield to them. Now, this is a video about roundabouts. Peel Regional.
I'm Staff Sergeant Janet Zenga, Ontario Provincial Police, and I'm here to talk about roundabouts. As you approach the roundabout, slow down and pull into the proper lane, depending on your destination.
The appropriate lane choice is based on the driver's desired exit or intended destination. In all cases, signs will direct drivers to the proper lane. Drivers using the left lane have the following options: left turns, straight ahead movements. Vehicles using the right lane must make an immediate right turn or a straight ahead movement. Remember to maintain your lane position. One of the most important concepts of a roundabout is the yield principle. All vehicles must yield to traffic inside the roundabout, as well as vehicles exiting. Drivers should only enter after sufficient space is available to maneuver safely into the roundabout. Defensive driving is appropriate in all situations. Make sure you are aware of other vehicles within the roundabout and be alert to drivers entering and exiting. Everyone must follow the rules of the road. Failure to observe these rules will create unsafe conditions for you and other drivers. Before entering, always yield to traffic within the roundabout. Entering without sufficient space will cause an unsafe condition. In this situation, the vehicle in the right lane cuts off the driver in the left lane intending to exit. Be aware of other vehicles in the lane next to you. They may be unaware of your intended exit. Never change lanes while inside the roundabout.
Some people think that roundabouts aren't designed to handle large vehicles, but there are actually features built into the roundabouts that allow vehicles like buses and tractor trailers to navigate the roundabout easily. The slightly raised area around the outside of the center island is called the truck apron and designed to accommodate large vehicles. If you see a truck or a bus with the back wheels up on the apron, don't worry. That's what the truck apron is there for. Also, large vehicles may have to use more than one lane on the approach or within the roundabout to make a turn. All drivers should be aware of these features at the roundabout, and you should always give large vehicles plenty of room to maneuver. What about emergency vehicles? If you have not yet entered the roundabout, pull over to the right, if possible, and wait until the emergency vehicle has passed before proceeding. If you're in a roundabout when an emergency vehicle approaches, take your intended exit and proceed beyond the splitter island before